We're going to go through something that GHS calls the brightness bar. It's a graphic design that shows in their catalog the basic tones of the strings. They have it for guitar, other strings, but we're talking about the bass brightness bar. And on one far end of the spectrum is what they call mellow. You might call it dark. You might call it warm. It's all the same thing. Flat wound strings, the original bass string. And it's the smoothest feeling and the mellowest sounding. And the kind of music that I like to use flat wound strings on are blues, roots music, swing, anything where it's about kind of getting a retro style or just really being much more concerned with the fundamental of the note rather than all the overtones in the high end that becomes more and more pronounced as we move into round wound strings and then steel strings at the far end of the spectrum. So this is as mellow as we're going to get. And they really, you can tell right off the bat, it's just a nice round sound. It's great for blues. They just feel good to play. They feel like they're already old. You know, you listen to some great records, Ry Cooder's Bop Till You Drop. Tim Drummond plays bass on that. I'd bet you $1,000 he's playing flat wound strings. It's just a mellow sound. And if you want to you can roll your tone control back, get it really dark. It's great for reggae. We're jamming on GH Flatwound strings. So you get the idea that this is really what you want if you're trying to go old school. A lot of the hip-hop and R&B stuff, I know that when Pino Palladino kind of made the transition from being a big fretless guy into playing with people like D'Angelo, he changed over to flat wound strings and a P bass and kind of invented a whole new sound for himself. And that's a lot of what I want you to think about when you think about strings is, what do I want to sound like? It's even okay to say, who do I want to sound like? I do that all the time as a session musician where I kind of just imagine myself in Bootsy Collins' shoes, or I imagine myself in James Jamerson's shoes, or I imagine myself as Will Lee, whatever it takes to put yourself in that right frame of mind. And the sound is a big part of that. A different sound will make you play a different way. These strings make me want to use that palm muting thing. You can't really make a round wound string do that. Even when you grab them, it's like there's a different, it's just a different kind of attitude. It's almost like it's got its own built-in limiter. The dynamic range is maybe a little smaller, but the fundamental of the note is what really comes out with flat wound strings. And GHS has got some variations on this. This is the darkest string that they make. The next one up is bright flats, which are like this, but with just a little more crunch on the top end. I've been using those strings exclusively on my electric upright bass that we call the Beast for over 25 years, 27 years to be exact. It was built to be played with those strings, and that's that sound. And you can hear that sound on any number of my solo records or three-ring circle. And bright flats are a great way to get just a little bit more edge into your sound from these regular precision flat wounds. And then as we move up the brightness bar, we're going to hear more and more top-end articulation start to come out. And of course, there's many other factors where you pick on the bridge when you're playing up in here. It's a lot more mellow then. You can really do so much with the position of your hands. So don't always assume that you need to stay in one place. There's something else that you can do with a pick that you can do on flat wound strings in a way that round wound strings won't do. I'll show you. Out of my little bag of tricks here. Can't show them all to you. Some of them are very secret. But with a pick and flat wound strings, it's a certain kind of sound. Joe Osborne, who played on so many great records in the 60s, The Age of Aquarius, The Fifth Dimension. If you get a chance to hear that record on the radio sometime, don't turn it off. Listen to the fade. He plays some unbelievable stuff there. But Joe would get a big pick and get right underneath that string really aggressively. You can really hear the punch in the middle of that note, and it's not about the upper stuff, which we're going to hear. If you take out the tone control, you really hear the attack of that pick without all the scratchiness and the other kind of high-end information that we're going to get from those other strings. And it's about choosing the right situation. But I highly recommend to any of you who have never tried flat wound strings, put them on a bass, especially a short scale bass, any bass that's got kind of a certain inherent funkiness to it. The flat wound strings are going to bring that out in a big way.